We're going to be talking about deep research for marketing today. Obviously, I'm Russ Henneberry, founder of the Click at click.ai. I've trained and certified thousands of professionals. I do a lot of training, I do a lot of consulting, I do a lot of that kind of stuff. I wrote Digital Marketing for Dummies, and I've been out here talking about AI for about 2 years now. And the big three problems that we want to solve when we're working with AI, we want to stop the cold start, right? So we know that AI is powerful, but every session needs to start from scratch, right? When we don't set up our AI properly, we end up with a cold start problem where it doesn't know what we're working on. It doesn't know what's going on. It's not aware of what's going on. If it's not structured properly, you have cold starts and you find yourself not getting anywhere. It's almost like spinning your tires in the mud when you have this cold start problem every time you use it. The boiled chicken problem is number two, right? That the results come back generic, inconsistent, basically not very useful. And then the third one is the drunk uncle problem, where your AI forgets, it goes off the rails, it does things it shouldn't do, like your drunk uncle does. And these problems are what is between the people that are using AI, because everybody's using it now, and the people that are actually mastering AI and they're starting to just absolutely crush through work, becoming far more productive, far more innovative, building things with it and doing really, really cool things. What they've done is they've eliminated these three big problems. So the way that this works is that we have to have AI that is grounded. It has to be grounded. In order for the AI to become grounded, we have to be intentional about the way we use the tool. We need training. We need to understand. We need to practice understanding this idea. So, what is grounding? So, it's when we take the AI and we say, I want you to use this source that is trusted as context in this conversation. So, we ground the AI in a lot of different things. We ground it into attachments. So, we might attach a file and say, ground yourself into that file. We might ground it into a web page or several web pages online. We might ground it into what we call deep research, which is we're going to talk about today. We might ground it into instructions, right? We say, hey, here's a set of instructions. Ground into that. I want you to follow this set of instructions. We might ground it into a knowledge base. We might say, here's a whole bunch of files. I want you to always be referring to these files, this knowledge base. And then this one has become a big, big, big one here in February of 2026 because we are now able to connect to so many external data sources. And I'll get into some of that a little bit today. But mainly, what we're going to be talking about today is deep research. We're going to talk about why we do deep research. We're going to give you a couple of deep research practice prompts to work with. And then you can start using deep research to ground your AI, to do good marketing work, to grow businesses using deep research. So there's some resources available for this training, and I will drop a link to that into the chat. And if you're watching the recording of this, look in the description or look underneath the video for the training assets. There should be a link to it or a button to it. But if you're on here live, um, I'm going to pop this link in here and it's going to open up a folder for you. All right. So let me say anyone with the link. So what you'll do is take this folder and what you want to open up, obviously the deck is in here that I just went through, but what you're really after is this file called the assets right here. And you can make a copy of all this stuff, right? You can download this stuff to your own computer or do whatever you want. The way I've given you access to it, you won't be able to edit this version. You'll have to make a copy. So if you just want this, for example, you could open up the assets folder here and just go to file and make a copy for yourself. So file, make a copy. Cool. All right. So let's talk about, I do these trainings live, and there's a lot been going on over the last couple of weeks. There's been a big adjustment in how AI functions and works. And yesterday I did a training on a tool called Claude Cowork. If you want to, after this training, if you want to watch that training, you can go to the and, or you can do this whenever you want. And there's free training tab up here. And this one here is the one I did yesterday. So I did this training on Claude Cowork. I'm going to be showing you a little bit about Claude Cowork today. We're going to be comparing ChatGPT Deep Research and how well it did to Claude Cowork. I was interested in figuring this out. So you'll learn a little bit about Claude or about deep research in general, but I also want to be looking at the different tools and how well they knock out deep research for marketing purposes. So you can always go to the click.ai and you can see these trainings. There's several of them starting to stack up in here, but this one is the one I did yesterday. And then I want you to also know that there is a training on Claude Cowork for Quick Start for marketing. I'll drop that link in as well. But if you just go to my homepage, my website, we have this Quick Start going on, Claude Cowork Quick Start. Why do I want you to jump into Claude Cowork? Because it is a next level tool. It is absolutely outstanding. And as a group inside of my Click Pro membership, we are starting to migrate over to Claude Cowork. It's just that much better. And so we're going to be comparing it. I'll show you a little bit of the difference between, in general, how ChatGPT works versus Claude Cowork. And particularly as it relates to deep research today. So, all right, hopefully you got all the links and all those things. But what I want to do now is I want to take a look at two deep research prompts. So they are in this assets folder. And I'm just going to blow this up so you can see it much better because I'm on a giant monitor here. And so let's look at this first deep research prompt, this one called Deep Research, it's DR Competitive Mapping. So all this is a prompt, and we're going to give it to an AI with a set of instructions. And what we're going to be doing with this particular set of deep research is we're going to be doing competitive research or competitive mapping is what I call it. So we're going to be mapping competitors using deep research. We're going to try to surface information about competition. So we could be doing this for a client. We might be doing this for our own business, or a company we work for as an employee. But we want to leverage AI to go out there and do world-class research. Like the amount of research that would typically, when I was working in this space pre-AI, we would have paid somebody a few $1,000s to do this research and it would have come back in like a week. And now we can run this and it comes back in about 20 minutes and it's almost free. So, and what it surfaces is better in many cases than the research I used to get when I would pay a human to do it, right? It's really, really good at this particular function AI is. So let's look at this prompt together and why it's structured the way it is so that you can start to think of other deep research ideas that you might have to grow your business or a client's business. So the first thing I like to do when I'm giving an AI instruction is to tell it why it exists in a broad sense, like right away. So I'm basically like, hey, I want you to build an evidence-backed data set of competitor marketing hooks. I want to know what hooks they're using. I want to know what messaging angles they're using in their ads, in their landing pages, their social posts. I want you to structure that data set in a way that I can use it. And I'm going to give it that structure that I want down here, but we'll get to that in a second. So then I have this sort of set of inputs. These are the three businesses that I want you to go research. Now, you could obviously change this prompt to put any businesses you want in there. You could put 10 businesses in there. You could put one business in there. You could put 5 businesses in there. And you could put any business that you want into this prompt and it'll run the same instructions just on a different set of competitors. Or if you want to practice deep research, you could just copy this prompt as it is and run it and learn a lot about how deep research works and that kind of thing. But you can definitely swap anybody else in here for your clients or for your business to see the marketing hooks, the messaging angles. You can also change what you want it to find. So this prompt is very adjustable. Like I'm telling it to go look at ads, landing pages, and social posts and look for hooks and messaging angles. Now, the reason I want to do that is because I might find some good ideas for hooks and angles that I should be using in my marketing. Right. And I want that stuff to get surfaced in a very easy to scan table so that I can say, wow, that's a good angle. That's a good hook, like all of that kind of stuff. So then I tell it the scope and I say, go look at paid ads, landing pages, and social posts. And then I kind of have these research principles in here. Yeah, I could probably delete this, but I use AI to write my prompts. So when I want to create a deep research prompt, I will literally describe in as much detail as I can what I want, and then I ask the AI to take what I've given it and build me a research prompt. And then I use that prompt to do deep research. I give it as much information about what I'm trying to do. So in this case, I might have said, hey, I want you to go out there and build me a research plan to find the marketing hooks and angles and stuff that these three competitors are using. That could have been all I said, right? And it goes out there and builds this out. Or I could have had more detail, like I want you to look at ads and landing pages. I want you to make sure you use Facebook's ad library. I want you to make sure you check Twitter. I want you to make sure that you check, I could get as detailed or as not detailed as whatever information I have. So I sort of do like a brain dump and then I say, go write the prompt. And so it goes and it writes this thing and I can go and change that or I can just run it as it is. So you can see here that I am kind of telling it, I want you to focus on the Meta ad library, the TikTok Creative Center, Google ad previews, LinkedIn ads wherever accessible. And I want you to look at pinned posts and stuff like that. Like I give it some detail about what to go look at. I gave it some hook categories. To be honest with you, like the AI created this set of hook categories itself. And I looked at that and I was like, that's pretty good. I kind of like that you gave it categories. And then this is an important part of any prompt is what do you want the output to look like? Right? What do you want the output to look like? Do you want a table? Do you want it in report form? Do you want it in a narrative, but do you want sort of a story to come back to you? Like, how do you want to receive this back? And when you do give it that output format, it will adhere to that. It will say, okay, I understand. Like you want one table, you want a table containing these columns. And again, these are all adjustable as well. If you don't want some of these columns, or if you want additional columns, or if you want it returned as a story or returned as a set of bullets or whatever, you can change this. But then I actually give it an actual example of what this looks like when it's done properly. One of the useful broad ideas in using AI is to show the AI what good looks like. Show it what outstanding looks like, actually. That's a better way to say it. Show it what outstanding looks like. Give it a model example of what you want it to do, and it will nail it for you. Sometimes you don't have that. Sometimes you can ask the AI to create that model example, and then maybe you have to sort of coach it along and get it where you want it. But really powerful to show it an example of what you want. Okay, so let's take this prompt. Now I'm going to go through something that I hate. I hate having to go through, but that this is important. So some of you, I recognize a lot of names on here that have been with me on lots of calls, and there's also some new folks on here. But I want you to make sure that you have Markdown enabled in your Google Drive and your Google Docs. So what you'll do is you go to tools. So you go to tools, preferences, enable markdown. And the reason you do that is because this is a long prompt and it has a table in it. And by enabling markdown, we're going to be able to copy and paste all that formatting in really, really easily now that we've turned on Markdown. So what you'll do here, if you've got a chat GPT session open, you can play along with me today. If you've got a Gemini session, you can run this prompt inside of Gemini. You can run it in Perplexity. Most tools now have a deep research component to them. So you're going to take this, select the whole prompt, and then right click or click the edit and go copy as markdown. See that right there? Copy as markdown. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to select everything. So I just, on my Mac, I do a Command A, or I can just highlight everything, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy this as markdown. Then you will go into, let's use ChatGPT here. So I'm going to go into ChatGPT and I'm going to start a new chat there. And I'm going to click the little plus button and blow that up a little bit, turn on deep research. All right. So I'm going to turn on deep research there in my plus button. And then I'm just going to paste all that markdown in there. You can see that little markdown, it just kind of formats everything in plain text for you. And it actually preserves that table. Like it looks like gobbledygook to you and I, but to an AI, it totally understands this table that we wanted it to see the great output. So that's why Markdown pretty important, and it's not really all that scary to work with. Just turn it on in tools and preferences and start to copy and paste long pieces of copy and content into Markdown. Start to get comfortable with it as an idea that the AIs love when you feed it stuff in Markdown. Now, I've got deep research selected. I've told it what I want it to do. I've told it I want it to go out to these sites. I want it to find the marketing hooks and angles, and I'm going to run it. Now, ChatGPT has recently changed how they do deep research. If you haven't done deep research in ChatGPT in more than a week, they've changed it last week. So there's some additional exciting things that you can do with deep research today. So rather than, for example, the way that I put these competitors in here, WebFX and Ignite Visibility, I could have, I didn't, because I want it to search the entire internet, but I could have gone down here and specified specific sites. In other words, I could say, hey, I only want you to go look at this site. Maybe it's Wikipedia, for example. Only go do this entire thing, do it on Wikipedia. But I can designate using commas different specific sites that I want to restrict this to. I don't want to do that uh, with this particular deep research because I want it to scour really the entire internet. I want it to figure out where to go look and where to do this research. So you're going to see that it's going to start up here and it's starting to research. So it's crawling competitor homepages now. It's going to go search the Meta ad library and TikTok Creative Center to find. It's going to be looking for hooks and angles and so on to that I could be using in my marketing because these are competitors of mine in this scenario. So that's the first deep research example is competitive mapping of marketing hooks and angles. I could have asked it to give me a positioning statement. I could change this prompt in any way that I want. It's completely up to you how you want to structure. Um, Sky's the limit here in terms of if it if you could tell the AI to go do anything and research anything, what would it be? And then the other big lesson so far has been let the AI build the research prompt. So it's called meta prompting. When you meta prompt, you are basically you are prompting an AI to build you a prompt. And so the way you do that is you dump as much information about what you want as possible into a prompt. And then you say, now go build me a prompt. Build me the research prompts. I call it meta prompting. All right, cool. So that is running now. So we've got ChatGPT is out there, it's doing its thing, it's running around all over. I don't see they used to give us a lot more than this in terms of you can see it's giving me some information about what it's doing here. But this is sort of an agentic type workflow here where it's making decisions, it's making plans, it's updating that plan as it goes. And really this was one of the earliest versions of what we would call an AI agent. All right, cool. So now let's look at how Claude does with the same prompt. Okay, so Claude Cowork, I'll pull it in here. So Claude Cowork, again, we did a training on this yesterday. Let me close this because it looks all scary. But let's look at the competitive mapping example. So what I did was I pasted that same prompt into a Claude Cowork session. And I said, hey, I want you to go and find the marketing hooks and messaging and all of that stuff. And it went out there and did all of this. It's like, all right, let me look at this. I'm going to research these in parallel. So the first thing I'll mention is that Cowork did this a lot faster than ChatGPT did because it did a lot of things in parallel. I've been talking over the last week or so about the progression that AI has taken here in February, and this tool is just far better than the original Claude Chat, which you can still access through here, and definitely things like ChatGPT and Gemini. It's just a better tool. It works much more agentically. It is aware of so much more context if you set it up properly again. And that's what we're going to be doing on Friday, by the way. So if you scroll up, you might see a Zoom link there that you can go and jump on that training on Friday, and install Claude Cowork with us. But you can see that it was like, okay, cool. Like I'm looking around, I've got all this going on. And then it comes back and it's got this spreadsheet that it's created for me that contains all of this deep research. So it's got the competitor's name and then where did it get the information from? It's got this from the homepage hero, and then it's got the hook or the angle that was used on that page, plus the promise, the pain point. This is all what I asked it to do. I said, I want a table. I want to see the competitor's name, where you got the information, the source, the platform, where did you find this, the hook category, the hook angle, the primary purpose, the pain point, and the CTA, because I want to be able to use all this different kind of information. I want to organize this in a way that's like, oh, that's an interesting angle, or that's an interesting angle, or that's an interesting hook. This is the output that Claude Cowork came back with. And I already ran the research that's happening here. You can see that this thing's already performed 180 searches on to knock this out for me. I already ran this so that I had it all ready for you. It's sort of like a baking show where I start to show you how to make a cake and then magically have the same cake already done in the oven. All right, so this is already done research. And if I close this out, so basically you can see I ran the prompt, it went out, did the research, it was gone for 19 minutes. It cited 23 sources. And I doubt that that's correct. I don't know why it says 0 searches, but you can see here that it came back and organized all of this for me. And here I've got all the competitor, source, platform, hook and angle, and primary promise. And I'll tell you that I went ahead and opened up Claude Coworks. Actually, that's the second concept. But again, if we look at Claude Coworks output, this case, I would say that Claude Cowork brought back more and more detail, although I don't know that it was necessarily that much better output. The second example had far better output from Claude Cowork. But what we can do from here is we can start to talk to this data, right? So when I go back to this concept of grounding. If I want to work on messaging hooks and angles for landing pages or ads that I'm making, or an email that I'm making, or a social media post that I'm writing, and I want to get some good hooks and angles going, well, I could just start asking the AI, like, hey, I want some good hooks and angles. Or I could have deep research. I could run deep research on some competitors, and then I could ground my AI into that research. And you do that this way. So I might go back into this research. So I can ground into this. I can say, hey, let's use this. Let's use this in some way. And I might say something like, and I use Whisperflow now for, I'm going to turn off deep research down here so it doesn't run another one, but I'm going to use my voice instead of typing. So I'd love for you to go back through this deep research and surface, the 10 hooks and angles that you see in here that I might be able to use for my business. I'm looking for things that are really maybe out of the ordinary marketing angles and hooks that might be used for this type of business. So you can see I just kind of was like, hey, let's get the gems out of here. Maybe get the gems out, right? And so it's like find me some non-obvious positioning, some pattern breaking type stuff. And I might start to query into that deep research. So this is an example of me grounding in first thinking like, where could I go to get some really good information to ground into? One of your options is deep research. You could have it go and just do massive amounts of research today and then ground into it and use it in some way. Like let's say I'm working on let's just go with social media posts. And so now it's gone and it's surfaced some um out of the ordinary hooks and angles. And let's pick one of these. Like let's just take the first one. So this came from investigating WebFX and it says move from marketing that reports clicks to marketing that reports revenue. Okay. So from here, I might go and say, hey, let's use that number one example to start to put together three different LinkedIn posts that I might want to use on LinkedIn. Go ahead and start to outline those. And so I started with something, right? I started with, hey, go research all my competitors. Let's find out what kind of hooks and angles they're using. It comes back with a table. Then I ask it, hey, like, how about you surface some of the ones that are a little out of the ordinary? And it took that in a good way. It was like, I like how it went. It was like, how about non obvious positioning, pattern breaking, framing, stuff like that? And it's like, well, here's 10 of those. And now I'm moved on to say, okay, like, what if I started to put together three different LinkedIn posts on this, start to outline those? You can see I'm just sort of moving step by step, letting my AI start to figure out, like do this one thing, then this one thing. And so it started with go research my competitors, build a table, surface the best ideas out of there that are a little out of the ordinary, that might be contrarian, stuff like that. And now let's move into creating something that's actually going to go out to my audience or go out to, um, you know, uh, my email list or through ads or whatever it is that I'm building. So you can see it's starting to outline. It actually went ahead and wrote a draft here. So now at this point, I might highlight this and click on this little Ask Chat GPT button. I love this button here because what that does is it pushes that down there. And so now the AI knows I'm talking about this post. So if you've ever, you know how you get like long amounts of output and you might want to just talk about one part of that, right? Well, you can do that by highlighting. And so I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to say, put this post into a canvas so we can start editing it. So I don't even have to say, put post number one or anything. I just say this post because it knows I'm referring to that post. So I'm going to go ahead and get this into a canvas. We have a free training on Canvas as well. If you go to the click.ai, you'll see free training for Canvas is in the free training section there. But now you can see that it's popped a canvas. I click on edit. It splits my screen so I can now start to edit this either using the AI over here. Like I might say something like, let's break this up with more subheadings and bullets, if applicable, and run that. So it knows that I'm referring to this post draft here. So it's going to go and edit this. It's going to add the subheads and stuff like that for me. You can see in this case, it added, forced it a little bit with these bullets. But the nice thing about Canvas here is that I can now take this document and I can start to work with it. Really looking forward to the time when I'm going to be able to save this in here. Right now, I cannot save this. I can copy it, I can share it, I can download it as PDF or a Word doc or a Markdown doc. There's that Markdown again, guys, but I can't save it in here anywhere. All right. So that's a workflow using deep research where you can sort of see, are you guys picking up what I'm throwing down here? Like, is that making sense? Give me a yes or no in there. Because now I want to run through how I would do this in Cowork, right? I want to show you how I would do this in Claude Cowork and what the difference is if I use Cowork. So this is Cowork. And as I said, I'm here to tell you that this is a better tool. It doesn't mean you shouldn't use ChatGPT. I still use it, but that we need to be paying attention to this tool. That's why on Friday we're going to be working on installing it. So, what I want you to understand about Cowork is it went and ran this research in the same way that ChatGPT did. It went and let's see if I can find any details about all this, any sources. So here it says 35 evidence-backed hooks, 3 competitors organized by competitor. It looked at 25 landing pages, 9 social posts, and 1 ad. I guess it was having trouble finding ads. I checked the meta ad library. And so you can see that it went and did the same research here. And if I open this up, it's there. I have the research. So I'm going to run through the same workflow and show you why this is a little bit different. I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to say, yeah, so let's look through this research that you got and surface the 10 most sort of out of the ordinary hooks and angles that I might be able to use on social media. Maybe some contrarian things that you found and run that. So you can see a couple things about Cowork if you haven't used it is that I am now working in local files on my computer. So this Excel file actually lives on my computer. It's different from this. I can't save this document. I can't really keep this document for later if I think that I could use this. Like, let's say I edited this and got this into a perfect state. It would be really nice to be able to save this and say, this is perfectly done, right? Like, this is a perfect example. Remember, I said there's nothing more important than showing the AI what good looks like or what outstanding looks like, right? It's really a better way to say it. So if I go back in here, Claude Cowork is different, right? Like you can see that this document, this competitor hooks document is actually sitting on my computer now. Like it's there for me to use anytime I want myself, and the AI can access it anytime it wants. So let's walk through the same workflow over here. We started with deep research here where we said, hey, go out there and find me a bunch of hooks. It was gone a little bit shorter a time than ChatGPT was. I think it took about 10 minutes to do this, whereas ChatGPT took about 20 minutes. And then it comes back with these sort of contrarian hooks. So let's see, 6 month plus month marketing plans are trash. Pure contrarian take. Interesting. So he's basically saying like attacking something everyone at marketing accepts as gospel and double down with yes, even the long-term bets, the lesson, pick a sacred cow and punch it. Okay. Does your marketing agency hit goals consistently? Didn't think so. Move from marketing that reports clicks to marketing that reports revenue. See exactly what we do, how much we charge, and why your competitors are in deep trouble. All right, let's go with this one here. It's the most contrarian thing that I've seen. And obviously, we probably wouldn't want to steal this guy's take on this if we didn't believe it. But let's just play with this take here. And I'm going to say, cool, let's take number 2 and let's write a LinkedIn post about it. But let's start with an outline, sort of like how would we structure this LinkedIn post if we wanted to post about this. So you see, I just kind of explain what I Claude Cowork to do. And it's going to start organizing this into an outline. You can see that a couple things are happening here. So it's using a what's called the Reynolds voice. So Reynolds is a brand voice that I use. It lives inside of Claude Cowork. It always has access to it. You can see it's grabbing my persona right now so that it knows uh, the type of persona that I use. It's referencing something called a skill here, and the reason it's doing that is because I have certain skills that have been written into my Claude Cowork that show it how I like LinkedIn posts to be written. And all of this has happened because I keep working inside of Claude Cowork and I keep fixing things and making things and creating things. And what it does is it starts to write these skill files. And these skill files remember how I like things done so that it can do it again and again and again for me. So this particular LinkedIn post will be more close to what the way that I want it written than ChatGPT was because it's able to just go find this skill, find my persona, and sort of write it in a voice that was in a tone and style that my persona is going to like. It also went and grabbed this hot take.md. Hot take.md is a hot take style LinkedIn post that I like to use. And so it's like, okay, let me get the LinkedIn post writer skill and the Reynolds voice. So I want you to notice how much more agentic this is, right? Like that it figured out on its own that it needed to go get the Reynolds voice, which is a brand voice, essentially tells it how I want my brand voice to sound. It went and grabbed a structure called the hot take for LinkedIn posts. It went and grabbed my persona and it comes back with an outline here. So it's a beat by beat outline. First, the punch, open with a version of the take, something like your 6 month marketing plan is already dead. Stop building marketing plans, start building marketing loops. Okay, so whatever. I might work back and forth on this outline, but let's just for the purposes of being on a live training, let's just run the next step, which would be, all right, great. Go ahead and write this LinkedIn post for me. I'll run that. So let's see what happens with Claude over here. It's going to need some additional um, skills, maybe. It might go connect to something over here. It's got access to that Excel file that contained all the research from the start. So remember once again, where did we start? We started with grounding the AI into something. It didn't need to be deep research. It could have been anything, right? It could have been a transcript. It could have been a single web page or a landing page. It could have been an attachment that I want to give it. Like, here's a big PDF file that I need to work on. Like, let's ground into that. So when we're seeing AIs that have cold starts, they have boiled chicken, they have drunk uncle problems. It's because the AI has nothing. It just doesn't have. And in a rarer case, it has too much, right? So it has too much. It can't figure out, it can't find what it needs. But if you're newer to AI or new ish to AI, it's probably 99% of the time, if your AI is failing, it's because it doesn't have enough context to ground into. It's not able to go grab and ground into enough context. If you've been using AI for a while and you're getting really good with it and you totally understand what I mean when I say that your AI needs to be grounded and it needs context, you might end up, I do occasionally end up overwhelming your AI with too much context. Although that is happening less and less because the tools are just getting better and better at figuring out what they need and going and getting what they need. And this is the big difference with Claude Cowork is that it goes and gets what it needs off of my computer when it needs it. And now that I've got this post here, now I may not like this post or I might like it a lot. Let me show you how this works. You can see that I have this document here. Now, the thing that I'm looking forward to would be to be able to make edits. I can make AI edits from the left. I can do the same thing where I might say, add some subheadlines and bullets wherever it makes sense inside of this post. Now, I'm not going to do this because I'm not going to run this because that's not actually what I want with my LinkedIn posts. And I don't want it to adjust the way my LinkedIn posts work. And so let me tell you what I mean by that. If I tell it to add some subheadlines and bullets, it might either do it on its own or it might ask me if it wants me to go update the skills, the instructions as to how to create the post. This is new, right? This is a new idea that the AI would go and sort of heal itself, right? So it figures out he likes it when there's bullets and subheadlines in these LinkedIn posts. I'm just going to go adjust the skill. I'm going to go adjust the instructions myself so that the next time I create this, there'll be bullets and there'll be subheadlines. That that is new. Like that is different from what ChatGPT does and can do, right? You see this thing's still running. Wow, look at that. Like the heck? It's been running and running. ChatGPT doesn't heal itself very well. I mean, it tries to, but like nothing like this. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying by healing itself? If I tell it, if I say to it, like, start putting bullets and subheadlines in your LinkedIn post, it it might ask me, or it might already on its own go and update whatever it needs to update. Like it might have to update 3, 4 different files to make sure that the next time it gets closer to what I want. And that again, that is new. Like Claude Cowork is intuitive in this way. It knows what it needs to go get, what it needs to grab, what it needs to build, what it needs to create. And the more you work with it, the smarter it gets. And so this is like next level AI, and it's easier to use because it just kind of works, right? As you work with it, it just keeps getting smarter and it becomes more and more aware of what you're working on. So I open this up. Let's say I post that or I edit it and post it. And that's how, you can start using AI to get real work done, right? Like you start with some kind of, what am I working on and what am I going to ground into here? And you might start with deep research. Like you, I want to go back to the idea that you could deep research pretty much anything, right? Like, I mean, obviously it can't go walk around and run a survey or something of actual humans, and it can't get into things that need a login or things that need to be paid for in terms of information. But the deep research agent can scan the entire internet. Like it's going to look across so much. You can see in this one here that it's got a lot of sources, and it finally finished, and there's the research again done. But grounding into deep research or heavy research like this is a good idea, and you can ultimately run out and get into some very useful information this way and then turn it into something, whether it's content or a promotion, like some kind of promo email, or whether it's a landing page or something that you're using to help you grow your business. So the real important part is that you take that next step, which is to use the deep research in some way to actually move your business forward. Let's look at this second one, voice of customer research. So before I do that, let's look at the prompt. So if we go into the prompt, I'll do this one more quickly. You can see I have the objective of this prompt, what do I want you to do. And so what I want from this one is I want to hear verbatim. I want to hear from my, like the actual market, like what are they saying about this product or this business? And I want you to scour the internet. I want you to bring back the voice of the customer and organize it in a way. And again, I've got this little input section here where you can change this, right? So you could change this. Right now, I've got bereavement gifts, category e-commerce, and I put a very simple persona in here. You could definitely put more information here and get more specific research done, right? Like if you put more detail here. So I just put here bereaving family members who've lost a loved one. And then I say, go look at all of these places and find the voice of people that have ordered bereavement gifts. Like, what are they saying about it? What do they say that's positive? What do they say that's negative? So I asked it, I said, go collect a whole bunch of voice of customer snippets and then again, return it in this very specific way. I want it returned back to me in a very specific format. And then again, I show it the format. What does good look like? Right. I show it that end. And actually, that's right. I forgot that I set this up to return actually two tables. The first one is the raw information, like the verbatim voice. I want to hear exactly what somebody said. And then I want to know where you found it, what the sentiment was and stuff. And then actually wrote this prompt so that it would then structure a bunch of messaging angles. So I want it to take this information here and actually take it the next step into something that I can use in my marketing. So let's look at how well ChatGPT did with this. So this is the bereavement research. Here's table one where it's like, hey, my friends were really touched and said it had brought them to tears. That was a verbatim quote from somewhere. Doesn't look like I got sources here. I think I asked for sources here. So it should have showed me like where it found this and maybe even given me a link. Well, there it goes. There. That's what's right there. Trustpilot. Absolutely disgusted. I ordered a memorial gift. They took my money. I never received the goods. Okay. But you can see these are just people saying stuff about a company about the fact that they ordered a bereavement gift and either it was positive or negative that they had this experience and they went out there and they talked about, which is what we do. And there's tons of this. You can go out there and do this research on any business and get really good stuff back. But the key here is I asked for like 50 pieces. And then I said, I want you to take all of this research and build a second table where you have these structured messaging angles. So, for example, it says, here's the core pain point. The core pain point that it found when it did the research was that don't send people flowers. It's a chore. It's like sending someone a chore. Make it a thoughtful gift, not a chore. Now, if I sell bereavement gifts and I haven't thought about this hook or this angle, this could be a great email subject line. It could be a great ad campaign. It could end up being a lot of things for me. So you can see, give a practical gift instead of a dying bouquet. That's a great hook. That's a great little hook. And the only reason I was able to get to it so fast is because I ran deep research and then I had the research transformed into something that I could use. I just said, take all of this voice of customer and create some hooks and stuff for me. No more dying flowers, meaningful support, not wilted flowers. And it did that. It repeated that. So you could pick out and look through here and say, dang, man, there's some good hooks and angles and stuff that I could use in my training, or I'm sorry, in my marketing. Now let's look at the research that came out of Claude Cowork. So Claude Cowork actually ended up opening this into an Excel file. Let's see. This is actually not Excel. It's Apple numbers, which I hate. But anyway, so you can see here's all the quotes and all that stuff. And I would tell you what I would say is that the information that came back from Claude Cowork, it got me 75 pieces of voice of customer here. And it just did a better job of laying this out. And remember that table one in this deep research prompt is sort of like the beginning here. It's the raw material. I want you to go get a whole bunch of voice of customer quotes. And then table two is the more useful one. So I haven't looked at this yet to see how well it did. Let me see if I can blow this up for you guys so we can see it better. All right. So core pain, I felt paralyzed in how to reach out, take the stress out of finding the right gift, stop freezing, send comfort now when you don't know what to send. Okay. So you can see that it found a lot of people that were saying things like, I don't know what to send. I don't know what to do. Somebody just lost their father or they lost their loved one, and I don't know what to send. This kind of voice of customer research can find these kinds of angles. And it's basically like, here's a headline that you could use. Okay. Now, it actually gives me these support bullets because I think that's ultimately what I asked for. Like, I asked in my prompt for support bullets, headlines, and I don't think ChatGPT's deep research came back with that in table two. Well, I got about 3 minutes left here. Let me see. It didn't come back with that in table two, which, oh yeah, it did. Like, here's those support bullets. I just put them all in one spot for me here. Okay. All right, cool. All right. So much more meaningful than just sending flowers is number two. The hook is more meaningful than flowers. The gift that doesn't wilt in a week. Wow, that's really good, right? It's just so much more personal, used every day for 2.5 years. So if you sell bereavement gifts, which we have a member that does, this is why I use this as an example. Number three, most people stopped checking in. Suddenly there was a silence. I felt seen. Be the one who still remembers because grief doesn't end after the funeral. Wow. Wow. Okay. Different angle there is to ask people, would you like to send a gift, a couple of months after the funeral? The first impulse, what to send. The second, fear of getting it wrong. Okay. Making her day. It also made my, so how was I able to surface 10, in this case, 10 amazing hooks, headlines, support bullets, things I can use in emails, ads, landing pages, and test all this stuff out, make sales of bereavement gifts? How was I able to do this using AI? Well, I started with a deep research prompt in this example today, and I ran it. And then I asked it, hey, go do something with that. Like, turn it into, like, you could see where you could build an email or an ad or a landing page or something where it's like, when you don't know what to send is the headline, right? Or the gift that doesn't wilt in a week because, we sell bereavement gifts. The sympathy gift, you'll feel good sending, comfort. And you can use your own brain as to which one to choose, but all of it originated from going out there and finding real voice of customer research, letting the AI go out there and find all these people talking about bereavement gifts, pulling it together and organizing it in a way that I can then put it to work in my marketing. Hopefully that's helpful to you. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you will come and join me on Friday where we're going to start installing Claude Cowork together as a group. It's a free training. If you scroll up, I'll just pop the link in here one more time in case you want to get registered for that one. That one's on Friday. And if you're registered, you'll be sure to get the recording, even if you can't make it. Looks like it won't let me paste that again, which is annoying. Won't let me copy paste that. Are you serious? Let me see. Yeah, copy paste. So there's that link again. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you on Friday. Thanks, everybody. Bye.